Good evening and welcome to Speed Racing Network, the sign of tonight's Steel Graphics and Designs, race number 11 on the fall season. This evening we'll go 175 laps here around Dover. Everybody's just finishing up their qualifying times. We'll get a starting grid for you here in just a moment. Last week's winner was Kyle Johnson at Charlotte. He punched his ticket at the top of the board. Leading the points currently. Remember, last week was the reset week for the point standings. So he is currently the driver with the most points in the quote-unquote chase section of the season. So he is currently leading the championship fight. We'll talk more about that as we go through the evening as well. Great sights and sounds you'll get to enjoy from the virtual Dover Motor Speedway tonight. If you'd like more information on Speed Racing Network, you can go to our website, speedracingnetwork.com. and visit any of our social media outlets for updates, including race winners, race announcements, registration for upcoming events, and other items. You can also go to speedracingnetwork.com/shop to shop some of the greatest virtual racing gear out there. And now we get a chance to go ahead and look at our starting lineup tonight. Lane Doyle will lead us off from the pole position, followed by Kyle Johnson, last week's winner, Max Service, Bo Brady, and Sean Woodside making an SRN return. Rounds out your top five. Robert Richardson, David Davis, Daniel Bodler, Dan Park, and Joe Ruggles Jr. will round out our field of 10 this evening. So while we have that up there, I'm going to quickly reference the points. So for those that may be joining us for the first time this evening, unsure where we're at in the season, well, we're on race number 11. I know it says 3 there at the top of the screen, but I'll assure you we're in race number 11. The first 9 races were the regular season. After those 9 races, we have the top 8 drivers, or top 10 drivers rather, in points that have made the chase. For those familiar with the old school NASCAR chase system, basically all those 10 drivers, their points reset. And in this case, they're reset to 1,000. And then we have 3 races remaining in the season. Charlotte last week, Dover tonight. We'll finish at Homestead, Miami next week. And the driver within those 10 that has the highest number of points after those races, well, that'll be your champion. So, lots to be excited about happening here on the network this week and next week. Currently, Kyle Johnson leads the points after winning his last week's race. He has a 5-point lead over Max Service, and then 3 points back to Daniel Bodler. In third, Bo Brady, Dan Park round out those top 5 positions. Top 5 positions in the points after these 3 races, well, they'll get paid. So, little payday coming for those guys. Everybody's still getting gridded up here. We'll fire off here momentarily. Want to thank some of our partners at Speed Racing Network that make it happen. You'll hear some commercials from them over the course of the evening. Premier Racing Setups, top right corner. They've been there all season. They're your longest running setup shop on iRacing. Have many different options for you to take your iRacing career as far as you want to go. Code SPEEDNetwork15 will save you 15% on your order. Well, if you see anything odd happening this week, it's an iRacing build week. For those that don't know what that means, it's when iRacing goes through a bunch of updates. So these guys probably had to log on a little early, spend about 30-35 minutes getting everything updated. So if any glitches happen, freezes, well, we'll blame it on technology and keep moving forward. We got a nice field of 10 here tonight. I only see 9 rolling right now. Mr. Bodler I don't see on the grid. Looks like he may have missed the grid, so he's going to start from the pit lane. So a little adversity for the driver who's currently sitting third in points to start the race, but nevertheless, we'll get things going here. Thank you again for joining us in the penultimate race of the fall season for the Steel Graphics and Design series here on SRN. Well, Lane Doyle will take the field into the starting zone, and we'll get 175 laps from Dover started right now. Will lead the field back around to complete lap number 1. Max Service, Kyle Johnson now sliding in the next couple positions. long race here tonight. We talked about it, 175 laps. No reason to get too aggressive early, kind of settle in. You know, Dover's a place that does reward a little bit of tire saving ability, so I'm going to say, go out on a limb, say that's something we're probably going to see tonight. Maybe a little strategy, a little fuel mileage. I did confirm Daniel Bodler missed the start of the race, had to start in the pit, so he's 9 seconds currently behind the lead, and you can see him there on the track map in the right-hand corner, upper right corner. See if we can get him close that gap up a little bit as we go along. Lane Doyle out front currently. Here's your facts here tonight. A nice 68 degrees here at Dover. Slight wind coming out of the northeast. Very clear. Right in the middle of the road on the humidity. Wind's already changing on us. Goes down a little bit. Racing during the daytime. This is the last day race of the season. We will conclude under the lights at Homestead, Miami next week. We'll crown a SRN champion for the 8th time, as this is the 8th season. Currently only running one series. And no plans yet on what's next, but if you follow us on our social media outlets, it'll be the best place to stay up to date what's coming down the pipe. But finishing up the Steel Graphics and Design series, that's what's right in front of us. And then we will go from there. Connection issue, it looks like, here with the vehicle we were on. Let's try to get it re-racked. We'll just go check out Mac's service in the meantime, or the leader, Lane Doyle. But just getting this season wrapped up, that's the main thing. Then we'll get on to the holiday break and see what the spring holds. Lane Doyle, a driver who's found a pretty good amount of success so far this season on the racetrack, always fast when he's around here. Speed Racing Network. Those interested in kind of what he's done so far this season. He sat on the pole a couple times, including Iowa and the Milwaukee Miles, some short tracks. Able to pull the win off, a solo win at Rockingham a couple weeks ago before the Thanksgiving break. He currently finds himself firm in the chase for the championship. It might not be at 7th place right now, but only 16 points out of the lead, so a couple weeks left and a lot of opportunity within these races to earn bonus points in the form of leading laps, having clean races, leading the most laps. Definitely can catch up a little bit on that gap. Sean Woodside's here tonight in the 45. You may recognize that 45 from previous races here on Speed Racing Network. He's been a driver who's been around our series a little bit. Kind of made his name known a little bit more in the ARCA series that we recently held. Was very fast in a lot of those races. And you can see the number 45 back out here, and so far a strong showing for Sean early in this race. Up 2 positions from where he started 5th to position number 3, and seems to be on the hunt early. See him back out here, really good driver in this field. Kind of got a little bit of separation here, kind of got the top 6 in a pack. We got a little bit of gap back. Robert Richardson, Joe Ruggles. Got a little bit further back to Dan Park and Daniel Bodler, kind of rounding out the end. I note that Mr. Bodler, since he's joined the track a little bit late, he hasn't lost any more time than he already had and lost at the beginning, so just holding status quo for now, and maybe we'll hope for a quicker yellow flag. Robert Richardson, the 5, battling with Joe Ruggles. Robert was having a pretty good run there last week and got caught up in a little incident for the end of that one. Sean's up another spot, getting by Mac's service. Probably one of our championship favorites. Kind of noticing when we're watching the 45 run, you know, he's running a little higher in the corners and kind of diming it off the corner, getting a good run. Different than what we see the rest of the guys doing. You're going to get a look at it here on board. really good look at it right there. And I can't imagine us doing too much to help him save a little bit of tire, but it's obviously helping him get up towards the front. And might have something to say about the lead here in the next couple seconds. Can't quite get the momentum for the crossover there on lane. I apologize for some of the stopping you see along the way. That is iRacing service having a little bit of trouble. I did say it was build week, so we're just going to blame it on that. Sean Woodside's going for the lead in 1. On lap number 16, so Lane Doyle, he leads the first 15. Now he relinquishes the lead to Sean Woodside. See how much room Sean can pull out on these top 2 who have kind of been stuck together. Oh, have we seen that a lot this season. Every race we go to, no matter the track, you feel like Lane Doyle, Max Service, they're up there to compete. They're usually the class of the field, so a strong showing in a return to the network for the driver with the number 45. Just see that difference in line that he's running. It's a very interesting decision, because you just don't quite see anybody else doing right about now. You see how much higher up he is in the corner and just cuts it down to the bottom on exit. But car seems to have a pretty good attitude to it. All right, this is a good look at it here. Kind of gets back in the throttle, gets back to the bottom, and pulls off the corner. Not too loose off, it looks like. Plenty of room between himself and the wall, which is always an important thing on the corner exits here at Dover. Those safer barriers will stick out at you. Good job. Well, he got up front, now he's just got to manage. Lane Doyle sat on the pole, led the first 16 laps of the race officially. He is just now in the wheel wells, stalking 45. Max Service has kind of been running right behind prop 2 the whole time. Started third, runs third. Kyle Johnson, last week's winner. Back a couple spots to 4th, but he's hanging out right in front of teammate Bo Brady. And those two have put on quite a good shows as of recent here. SGD Graphics and Design Series. And just behind them, David Davis, who we've seen just week in and week out start running a little bit better and a little bit better. And you know, he's hanging on the backside now of a really good group, and we got a battle up front. Wonder if that line is starting to eat away at the ability of the 45 to make pace when it comes to those tires. And Lane Doyle had a peak to the inside on that last lap. Have it sorted out for just the moment, but that's necessarily going to be done. The risk you play with that line that the 45 is running is you do give that bottom up for the 47 to get down there, and if you're trying to chop off the corner and get back down there to make speed at the end, that 45's got the good roll in the center and he's got a nose in there. That can prove catastrophic. It could take both of those drivers out of the race, but then also if you can't get back to the bottom and then you're not able to roll that momentum off the corner, it could cost you multiple spots, especially considering a pack of hungry drivers all the way back to David Davis right behind it. Well, now work lapping 25 here at Virtual Dover Motor Speedway. We're going to leave you with the sights and sounds of the Steel Graphics and Design Series from Dover. We'll be right back with you. with you here from the virtual Dover Motor Speedway. You saw it while we were running under the sights and sounds. Mr. Sean Woodside passed back up by the two hounds and Lane Doyle and Max Service. So we presume we're doing a really good job of just pacing themselves, not burning up their stuff, and running a nice conservative line. And looks like that's paid dividends, as they are now running some of the fastest laps on the racetrack compared to the drivers around them. Sean Woodside has slid now back to third. Looks like Kyle Johnson going to try to make some work of that 45 if possible. We've been just keeping our eyes on this battle up front. It seems like these two content with running 1-2 for now. The whole field still runs within 9 and some change seconds between each other. You see that there on the track map in the right-hand corner. That is Joe Ruggles currently shotgun on the field. These guys can go quite a long time on fuel. You know, the decision making will kind of have to be what they choose to do when it comes to tires. You make it a one stop because you can do that on fuel, or you two stop it because of how much time you give up on tires. If we look at the best time of the race that's currently been run, that was run by Daniel Bodler, who ran a 23.87. Last time by Bodler ran a 25.22. So it's about a 1.5 seconds fall off through 45 laps. That'll continue to increase as we get deeper into this run. Wouldn't be surprised if we see about a 2-second delta from the fast time to the slow time in the run. And when you're thinking about lap times over 23 seconds, you can make up in a decent amount of laps that time that you might give up. And while we're talking about that, a little battle here for the lead, riding on board with Lane Doyle. He's got Max Service beating his left door down. Falls back in line. Seems to be content to ride in second some more. But we were on the topic of strategy, and I think that's going to be what's unique. I mean, yeah, one stop, you can make it there on fuel. It's not necessarily a bad idea. But just with the longer runs and the time delta, does that second stop make a lot of sense? You do go one lap down with making a pit stop here, however, so that's something to keep in mind as well. The top two continue to do their things. Behind them, Kyle Johnson, Bo Brady, David Davis, Sean Woodside, all kind of hanging out together. Then we got a little bit back to Robert Richardson. And we have Bodler, Park, and Ruggles rounding out our field of 10. Nice little field of 10 tonight. We've had, unfortunately, smaller fields throughout the season, but quality fields nonetheless. Really good racing the last few weeks. Lots of green flag activity. We're getting a little internet shuffle here. See if we can't get back live. There we go. Again, iRacing Build Week. Problems. But wow, the top three have really tightened up. All kinds of chaos up front. We've just kind of been watching it here with you. Max Service takes over the point. Now Lane Doyle's got to deal with Kyle Johnson in the 88, who's snuck up on this group here. Brady now throwing his hat in the ring as well. Ooh, gets really close to the back of Lane Doyle, but everybody keeps it on the straight and narrow. Sorted out for now. That's kind of allow Max Service. kind of get away from these guys a little bit. So watching this battle here for third, Lane Doyle, Bo Brady, David Davis now getting a little bit involved and doing its thing again. Got it back under control. You know, I was asked, why do you guys race on an iRacing build? Started. You know, I didn't have a good answer for him, but here we are, nevertheless. First car on pit road. Joe Ruggles, looks like regular service for him. 4 tires and fuel, 14.9 second pit stop, so that would be regular service for the 96. So he's the first of the drivers to come down pit road for service. Working lap 56, so you know we're kind of right at, if you're going to do that 2-stop strategy, this would kind of be the time. Joe Ruggles currently 2 laps in arrears. Now, he was running at the back of the field, almost half a lap behind the leaders when he did come down pit road. So that'll give you about an idea of how much time you lose on a pit cycle. Very slow pit road. We got a little bit of door action here. Bo Brady, Lane Doyle can't stay off each other. A little bit of paint traded between the 8 and 47 as they go off into iRacing oblivion once again. We got it back. This battle's not over. This might be something to keep an eye on. You know, these two got into each other a little bit before, so this isn't anything new. When you do have a smaller field of drivers, though, you're going to have that more frequently. Sean Woodside now on pit road. This is the first of the front runners that might be opting for that 2-stop strategy. We'll see if anybody else partakes. We'll also see if anybody else is going to do the stretch play. And we should find out, you know, over the course of the next 10 laps who's doing what, because you know, if you're going to split the race into thirds, this is about that time, and anybody that stays out, you would presume, is going to play the 2-stop, or the 1-stop rather. Splitting it in half, you know, you'd be coming down you know, roughly around lap 87, 88. That's still 26, 27 laps from now, so it's not quite a ways until we get there. So it just gives you an idea of kind of the difference on strategy. Sean Woodside, he's now rejoining the racing surface, kind of at the tail of the lead field we see, albeit 2 laps in arrears. So it looks like we can confirm that's 2 laps of lost time. And making a pit stop, riding on board here with the 81 of max service. Done a great job early, just maybe kind of pacing himself, minding his P's and Q's, and got an opportunity to get the lead and has stretched it. Kind of opposite of what we saw last week. Remember, Kyle Johnson was able to get in front of the 81 late in a pit cycle in that race and was able to stretch it out and not able to catch him back. Now, obviously, we still have a pit stop to make here, but it's kind of a reverse play of how we saw last week at Charlotte end up. Coming to complete lap 63. So far, Sean Woodside, Joe Ruggles, those are our only 2 takers on the split into third strategy. David Davis is now on the pit lane. So, switching maybe the first run out, maybe just a touch longer. I still think you have about another 5 to 6 lap window in that split into third strategy range. It's still going to be beneficial. Now, if we see people stay out after that, that would make me think that for sure going to be the one-stop strategy. See the leader go around there. That's the second lap in the rears. Daniel Bodler in the 6 is now down on pit road. Remember, he missed the start of the race, but was able to make up quite a decent amount of time there. His service, jumping around here, looking around. Max Service last time by ran at 25:37. Talking about those guys that did pit last time by at 24:69 for Sean Woodside, and that's battling through traffic. So you can make up time in a hurry, but you just see fresh tires. The role they play right here. David Davis came off pit road. We saw him there on the apron rather quickly, and he's run right up on our leader, and he's going to make quick work of him here. Fresh tires on these concrete racetracks generally mean so much. Here on the service, at least, they tend to have some effect. We've learned in real-life racing, it has a lot to do with the composition of the tire and the track temperature. But that's big for the 11, because what it does for him now is it retains his spot as the first car 1 lap down. So if you do have a caution, he'd be the lucky dog recipient. Sean Woodside's able to get one of those laps back there as well. So still only 7th through 10th have been down for service. Kyle Johnson, I wonder if he's having some trouble here, maybe just getting on pit road. Ooh, locks him up getting on pit road big time there. We'll see if that's going to result in the form of a penalty. You see Lane Doyle, he's now on pit road right behind him. So I think it was just the 88 getting a little squirrely, trying to get it woed down. And you know, when you have tires that have seen 70 laps of racing action, you know, that's something that could happen quite easily. So 2 more of our front runners now going to come down for more tires and fuel. Max Service continues to lead. He doesn't partake in service, and it looks like he's going to come right now. One of the best at using as much as possible to get on pit road, and that was a fantastic look at it. He gains a lot of time in those situations on pit road entry and pit road exit. That makes a difference at the end of the day. We'll see how it works out for him after he gets his service. So far, no green flag pit stop penalties to speak of. Looks like Bo Brady's getting on the apron, so he will be the next. Oh, he's sliding him. I think he may have got down to speed just enough there, but lucky not to make contact with anything. So that'll leave the 5 of Robert Richardson and the 7 of Dan Park as the 2 drivers who have yet to come down and get their first pit stop of the day completed. And I would have to think that these 2 are selling out to that one-stop strategy at this point, because we've kind of exited that window of what would make sense if we're talking about splitting into thirds. Now, they of course have the luck of, if a caution does come out, they've trapped, well, third on back, a lap down, so that will make a difference. Also noticed in the leaderboard, yeah, I know Joe Ruggles was a little bit behind the field when that pit stop started, so he might not have as big of an effect. But the guys that came down a little earlier than others in that run didn't necessarily gain too much of an advantage on the guys they were racing around, but you know, the pit stop distribution was pretty spread, so. Okay, last lap speeds though, just coming off pit road, Max Service ran a 23:95. And the current laps that the leader of Robert Richardson running is a 25:75, so that's about a 2-second per lap difference on a racetrack where you're going to run about 25-second lap times at the most. 50 lap time delta there. 2 laps. So we'll keep an eye on these front two to see what they're choosing to do on the strategy. Everybody else is kind of committed to the other side of the aisle. David Davis, you see him right there. He's the one that you see in the frame behind these leaders. You know, all that he wants to do is chase these guys down and get that lap back. Mainly because if we do have a caution, you know, he's the only one that's gotten his lap back at that point. He's going to have the advantage of being able to pit and have track position still, not have to wave around and stay on old tires, not have to start at the back as the recipient of the lucky dog. A little incentive for those guys to, or the 11 to get past them, and you just see on the track map and even in the screen as we get on some tighter shots how fast he's closing. Dan Park is now past the 5. The Park now is the lead vehicle, and he's going to grab a bonus point from doing so. And hey, that's important. We're in the chase. Every point matters. So getting a chance to get out here and get the lead's important. And you see, I mean, we were just talking about it a second ago, that 11. Oh, he's back there, straightaway back. You know, he's now here, and that's what 2 seconds a lap looks like. It's fast, especially around a truck as short as the Dover Motor Speedway. The 11 gets his lap back. The 88 and 81 right here will be the next two to get theirs. The 88 and 81 both pitting 6 and 8 laps after the 11, so they are on even fresher tires, so we have good reason to believe that they will run down David Davis as well here in the next handful of laps. Every lap means time when we're talking about tire degradation, so you can kind of see it right there. Running a couple tenths quicker laps, David Davis is going to put up a fight. Don't get me wrong, he has the right to do so, as he is the pit cycle leader, if you will. And you see they're going to make, I would say, kind of quick work of the 11. 11's not making it easy on him, though, kind of pinching the 88 down. They're going to stay respectful. So far, the whole field has been able to do a really good job of that tonight. Lots of respect given. Not a lot of out-of-shape moments, but plenty of room given. And that always makes racing better. So the 88, 81 now, they are considered the pit cycle leaders as they worked around David Davis. Remember, Dan Park here in the 7. He is actually your leader at this point. He has yet to make his pit stop, and same said about that yellow and blue car you see behind him in Robert Richardson. We're right now at that halfway time, so I would presume that the 7 and the 5 will start thinking about pit road maneuvers here momentarily. Not sure if it's exactly halfway what they're thinking, or running it all the way out. I have to think that actually going with the halfway point would save a little bit of time on tire. But I'm up here in the booth and not in one of the vehicles. I'm going to leave this to the guys that do it, and we'll just watch what unfolds. Lane Doyle, he'll be the next driver there to get his lap back in the 47. Around his Park Brothers Racing teammate. We'll just count down the laps, see how long the 7's going to be out here. Robert Richardson has peeled onto the pit lane. So the first of our halfway strategy takers, the number 5, is take that liberty just beyond the exact halfway point. So that leaves just the number 7 of Dan Park as the sole absentee of the pit lane. 90 laps in. Let's see if this time he's going to come down and get service. Not this time. You know, every time we're talking about strategy too, it always feels like we could talk about Mr. Park doing something different. He's a fast competitor, always in races, but he definitely tries to use strategy as a way to separate himself from the rest. And we're just waiting for one of these days it to, pay off big time. And we're gonna see if that's tonight. The last of our drivers to make their first pit stop. Come down the pit lane here and get his service. Now, while we're talking about this, we're only about 20 or so, 20 to 25, maybe 30 for some of those guys that are doing the two-stop strategy from having to come back down pit lane. So this will shake up the running order, but only momentarily. And the race car driver in me now wants to see this race go green because I want to see how this strategy plays out. I think this is a fascinating twist to what has been a pretty decent race, but mostly uneventful. Down and away is the service on the 7. That gives the lead back to Kyle Johnson, and he might not have that very long. Max Service, just as we get the camera to the 2, works around the 88, so now Max Service in sole possession of first place, and he will again try to do what he does best. Once he gets the lead, leg it out a little bit. Just looking up and down the running order here while we're kind of sitting in this limbo period of the race. Max Service up 2 spots from where he started. David Davis up 3 positions from where he started. On the flip side, Lane Doyle down 4 from where he started the race. So a little bit of work now to do for the 47 to get back where he wants. And we talked about those guys staying out. Well, you've seen now the 5 and the 7, they've made their way all the way down to the bottom of the running order because they gave up all of that time while they were staying out there. 2 segments a lap worth of time, remember, to everybody that made pit stops for them. So they're currently a lap in arrears. Our leader currently coming off turn 2, so about a straightaway and a set of corners away from getting that lap back, but they're playing the long game. They just want to see this kind of play its way out. But now it's those drivers, the 5 and the 7 that are fastest on the racetrack, running sub 24s. When you have the leader running 24.88, now 24.93, and the rest of the field running 25-second lap times. So kind of gives you an idea of what that difference is. Joe Ruggles is back on the pit lane. So he's getting his second service. This will be able to take him all the way to the end, so probably a scheduled stop for the 96. Little battle here for second. Bo Brady has caught Kyle Johnson. These two have a rumble. I mean, remember, we were just on the camera watching the 88 and 81 battle. Now you don't even see the 81 in the picture. Over a second half lead now for Max Service. And He's running about a tenth and a half faster per lap for this 88, and they only stopped 2 laps apart from each other. Only 2 laps fresher tires for Max, so possibly an idea just to show you how much tires mean, but also long run Max is going to be good. Daniel Bodler in the 6 is back on pit lane as well. That's his second stop, so regular service again for him. And while we're talking about that, Bo Brady is able to work around Kyle Johnson for the 2nd position. But there will be no further fight over that spot for now. Further back here with the 11, 47, 45, 5, 7. Everybody's kind of just jumbled right in here. We'll wait for the cameras to catch up. There he's talking about. 7 is now past this entire group. 45 of Sean Woodside. Now he's coming down for his service. So this is the beginning of that split group that are going to do basically the other 8 that didn't stop at halfway. Come down and get their final stop done between now and the next 10 to 15 laps. And we will probably not see the 5 and the 7 back on the pit lane. So just to help you keep track of what's going on. 5, Robert Richardson on that fresh set of tires, trying to work through these guys that have now been on the racetrack for about 30, 35 laps on their sets of tires. So making quick work of them, but being careful and tiptoeing his way through, and that's always important. Closing rates here at Dover very fast, running up on a slower vehicle, and never a problem of being maybe a little bit more patient and hesitant and giving guys a little space, living to fight another day than maybe press the issue. And as we say that, we got the 5 kind of out of sorts. I think the 6 who had just come off pit road was kind of pressing him a little bit, and maybe caught up on the 5 there, considering he's on offense. A handful of laps since he's come off the pit lane, so maybe snuck up on him a little bit there. Checking back in up front, it's Max Service. Doing Max Service things. Now leading 33, make it 34 laps of this event at this point. Not made his 2nd pit stop yet, however, neither has Bo Brady, Kyle Johnson, David Davis, and Lane Doyle. So the top 5 have to still make their 2nd stop. That will take them to the end. And then you have the 7 and 5 who've made their way now towards the middle of the field that are kind of playing the long game here to let this cycle out. They will cycle back to the lead when those front 5 hit. And then it'll just kind of be a waiting game to see if they can get run back down. Meanwhile, battle back here, 88 and 8 still deciding to swap positions. And you see the 7 already by both these guys. And that just shows you what 40 lap fresher tires will do for you. Good look there on what 30, 40 lap older tires will do for you with the 88 being a little sideways there on corner exit. 7, if he's able to run down the 81 and get his lap back, that's big, because even if we do have a stoppage in race here, his strategy won't pin him too far in arrears. That's the one thing about playing the one less pit stop strategy, is you're just so hopeful that the race goes green. Because you have to let the long game cycle out, or the pit stops cycle out, because there's going to be a portion where you're kind of stuck behind. And at this point, that would be what the 7 and 5 are battling, both 1 lap down to the leader. But this battle has settled itself out. Further back, Lane Doyle. He's past now David Davis. Joe Ruggles back here on fresher tires, getting involved a little bit. And back up front is Max Service. So those 2 stop guys, we should see on pit road here pretty soon. Within the next 10 laps probably for sure. Unless they're going to try to maybe run this long and hope that maybe they catch a stoppage in play. And we know what the 7 and 5 are going to be doing. Now we see the 7 fighting to get his lap back from teammate Max Service. And that will breathe a sigh of relief from the 7 when he's able to complete that pass. Looks like he's going to do that right here. Now a little bit safer on, if anything happens, strategy, but I think he's still hoping to see this thing go long. He's kind of left his strategy teammate in the 5 behind him quite a bit, almost a full lap to this point, or half a lap rather to this point, and so he's got to be feeling strong on the ideal that his strategy would be the winning one if everything's able to just stay status quo. I haven't seen any more of the front runners come down the pit lane yet. I feel like that's going to happen here very, very, very shortly. A lot of the current guys on the racetrack lap stops between laps 70 and 73. The only one that's been out there longer, the 11 of David Davis, stopped all the way back on lap number 64. So I have to believe he's going to be nibbling into that pit lane rather quickly. Solid field of 10 tonight, solid race so far tonight. Lots of good, clean green action. Something we've come to kind of expect now in the Steel Graphics and Design series as we round through the year. Had some interesting racing in there, some tough racing, some a little bit larger fields and some smaller fields, but down the stretch here settled into a nice little groove of things. Quite well for some of these members. Remember, we still got a championship hunt that's kind of the overarching theme here, or the SRN version of the chase for the title. Kyle Johnson, since he won last week, currently leading that charge at 1,050 points, followed by Max Service at 1045, Adler at 1032, Bo Brady at 1039, Daniel Parker at 1038. Kind of stair steps down a couple points after that, all the way down to Troy Techmeyer, who's not here this evening, but he was the last driver in 10-driver chase. Outside of Mr. Techmeyer, all the other chase drivers are in the field tonight. The only one of the 10 that you see on the screen that isn't is Sean Woodside, and that's because tonight's his first race of the season. SRN veteran that's back. Bo Brady, Kyle Johnson, they're on the pit lane here, getting their second pit stop and presumably last one of the night out of the way on lap 122. So they'll both be good to go to the end. They will not be worried about saving anything. Pedal down to the floor and make it happen. So there's Max Service, the leader right there. That'll show you where it's going to put them in 2 laps in arrears. The Max Service, Lane Doyle, David Davis, those 3, the only drivers remaining on the racetrack that still need to make that second pit stop. And once that happens, that'll cycle us out to where things will be all the way to the stretch run, to lap number 175. Very fascinating strategy at play here, and I was in the driver's seat consistently. That was something that I kind of always took a little bit of pride in and put a lot of focus in, was strategy when it came to when we were going to pit, and how much time was given up on tires. And 2, was it 4? You just factor fuel runs into that, because not every racetrack, mind you, has a high tire wear rate like a place here at Dover. All those things kind of factor in. That's kind of the fun stuff for me when I was kind of elbows in racing, being in the driver's seat. Also fascinating to watch from this point of view as well, don't get me wrong. Could be a little harder to follow though, because you don't necessarily know what's going on in the minds of these drivers or within their respective team voice chats that they have. That just plays out at the end. Right now, just a waiting game for the 81, 11, and 47 to make their pit stop. It looks like the 81 of Max Service is going to do that right here. So the leader in for his final pit stop. Driver that's led the most laps today, currently spotting 53 of those laps out of the 126 that the 81's carried the top position around. David Davis is going to join him on pit road this time, so that'll cycle Lane Doyle to the lead. And I think next couple laps he's going to be in as well. Probably what's most impressive thus far is we've had basically 2 cycles of green flag pit stops unfold, 3 if you include the alternate strategy, and we have not had a single pit road penalty. Now, don't get me wrong, we've seen guys maybe slightly on the aggressive side of pit road entry, where could have been the case, but all got it slowed down in time to where they were able to get through unscathed. Not hitting anything on pit entry, not speeding, and also on pit exit. Tight here at Dover, but staying on that flat until you reach the backstretch. So Lane Doyle, your leader, he's led a handful of laps tonight, leading a little bit in this point cycle, or this pit cycle rather. I was just thinking about points, because you do get a bonus point for leading a lap, and somebody who's in that championship hunt, every point's very important. 47's going to take advantage of that. I think the most bonus points you can earn is from winning a race. That's 5 bonus points. That's obviously going to be priority number 1. Now, pole sitter tonight, Lane Doyle, because he was on point. That is 2 bonus points, so he's able to add a little bit to that column. That's always good. Lane was last down on lap number 70, so does that again. He's got about 10 laps to go, but I would have to feel that he's going to probably try to pit before that, or maybe wait to see. Get lucky, maybe clip one of them flags of the alternate color. Just about half a track in front of second place Dan Park on his towing pylon. Remember, Dan is the driver who's currently leading the alternate strategy. It's him and Robert Richardson, but Park has a great advantage currently over in that part. Half the track's worth of time as well. Just behind Lane now, the drivers who are getting their lap back after their pit cycle. Kyle Johnson, Bo Brady, Max Service, all right here. These are the guys. This is the kind of the fight for the lead if the alternate strategy can't hold up. 88, 8, and 81. They're all running nose to tail. The key for them being back on the lead lap now is they have to chase down the 7. Right now they're about 15 seconds back, but remember that time delta is pretty big, so I have to believe now, just looking at the numbers and understanding what we've seen so far, I think they're going to easily be able to get there. The problem becomes, yes, they're running about 2 seconds, maybe a second and a half faster lap time right now, but eventually their tires are going to give up a little bit of time as well. They're not going to continue to run laps that fast. So that delta that they're gaining now is going to continue to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And while we were talking about that, Lane Doyle has decided, hey, it's my turn. I'm going to come down the pit lane and get a little bit of service. Dan Park will cycle to the lead of the alternate strategy, and only 11 seconds and change in his mirror is those guys that are coming on those fresh tires. And like I said, look at the last lap times. About a second faster is what they're running. They won't continue to keep that pace up. So that's going to be what's interesting. We're going to probably see that gap close quite a bit here early. But as we stretch down the run, we're going to see if they continue to take big chunks out. And, the other thing that I think is going to help them a lot is they won't really have to deal with any traffic. I mean, the 11 of David Davis is between them, but he's on newer tires as well, so we'll presume he's going to eventually pass the 7. So there will be no lap traffic holding the next group up. Speaking of the next group up, there's a lot of vehicles here. The 45, 6, 88, 81, 8. They are all up in each other's business because, well, when you have different tire strategies, you're going to have comers and goers and closure rates, and all those drivers, all 5 of them, fantastic job navigating that right there. And presumably this battle between the 88 and 81 would be the one for the lead. So Kyle Johnson's not going to let this go easy. We've seen Max Service, as soon as he's able to get the lead, though, kind of check out. I believe that 88's going to try to fight for every inch, but man, how powerful that 81 is when he's wrapping the bottom. He's back to the point, and if the storybook has told us anything this evening, we know that 81's about to leg out a little bit of time. Let's see if the 88 just can do anything that possible. Try to keep that close. Let's check in back in on current leader Dan Park. Remember, it was 11 seconds when we were talking about it a handful of laps ago. That's now down to just over 8. So those guys are coming. About a second of a lap faster last time we checked in. Now only 9/10. So that's what I was talking about when, you know, the tires, they don't necessarily ever equalize out. Those newer tires are always going to be a little bit faster, but the bulk delta in which they can gain is going to kind of slowly start to shrink over the course of the run. So Mac's hope is he can get there before it's too late. Well, you see the gap that already developed. I mean, we were here 3 laps ago, and the 81 was just passing the 88, and now, well, you have a little over 1.5 seconds between the two. Oh, we got a car sideways in the back, and that's the 6. Daniel Bodler. No caution. He's able to keep it straight. I think he made some significant contact with the outside wall. Going to come to a rest against the inside wall. No caution. He's able to get off the track without bringing one out. Let's try to see what happened. Oh, wow. Let's rewind this. I usually don't like to rewind. Okay, so there's a little bit more here. He got in behind the 8. Oh, he gets into the 8 a little bit. Overcorrection hard in the outside wall. That was going to be terminal for the 6 anyway. I don't think that right front tire was even moving at that point. But what a great job. Almost kind of looking out for pseudo teammate Dan Park to say, yeah, I'll just get off the track here and let this race play out. I don't want to be a part of it. The 6 is officially retired from the event after that incident. So we've been incident free all evening. That's the first time we've seen something like that play out. But we stay caution free, and we're starting to wind this race down now. Up 146 of 175 working. 30 laps left, and now only a 3.5 second lead for the 7. Oh, how that's gone away quickly. Remember, it was 8 seconds when we checked in last. Looking at the lap times, about 0.8 of a second difference between the 7 and the 8. So, the 7 and the 81 rather. Only a 1/10 difference in tire delta. And you gotta think that 81 is pushing hard right now too. If you do end up seeing a yellow at some point, you still want to be in control of the race. That 81 can get there sooner rather than later. That's gonna be advantageous. You have to wonder too, is the 7 trying to save anything right now? That's another got to keep in mind, but now we see them even in the same camera shot, as we only have a little under 2.5 second gap. And the unfortunate reality is, once the 7 gets caught by the 81, there's really not much the 7's going to be able to do about it. That's the hard part. You know, generally, if there's a couple laps difference on the tires, you know, you can kind of play hardball, maybe make it a little difficult on the guy to pass, but when we're talking 30 laps difference on tires, it's just kind of going to be no contest. I mean, it's only down to about a 1/2 second difference now between first and second, but I mean, with 25 laps remaining, that's still going to be there. in time unless we just see complete fall off from the time of the 81. I just don't see that happening. He's opened up now almost 4 seconds over Kyle Johnson, who we saw him battle just very, very short time ago. 25 laps to go here at Dover, and it's strategy down the stretch that's the storyline tonight. And you just see the 81 creeping ever so closer in the rearview mirror than number 7. This is the race for, we would presume, the win unless we have a stoppage in play towards the end of this race. Oh, the 7's just trying to hang on for all he's got right now. Maybe pushing a little extra. He sees that 81 getting closer. On those older tires, though, they're just not going to give him much. And I think once the 81 gets there, we're going to see rather quick work of this pass. And I think Dan Park will be just happy at that point after the pass to just finish up on the podium and bring home a solid points day and a championship battle that he's in the mix of. We might even see it before the closure of this lap. We might make it one more, but after that, I think the time of the 7 car out in the breeze up front is going to be over. Solid strategy, ideal though. I really like the idea. For a while there, I thought it was actually going to kind of work out nicely for him. But man, has this 81 just put the pedal down on this last run. Kind of opposite of what happened to him last week. The inside now goes Max Service. And with 22 laps remaining, the pass for what we can conceive would be the win has been made. Remember last week, it was Max who pitted right when Kyle Johnson pitted, and then Kyle Johnson, that last run of the race, just put pedal to the floor and ran away. And 81 had no shot of running them back down, and well, we've seen the exact opposite play out tonight. The 81 has taken this last run and just pulled it away. But if we want to think about Dan Park's strategy and how it relates to maybe not a driver like Max Service, you know, you'd have to think that the third place would be that measuring stick, and that would probably still have maybe a shot of making it 20 laps. We'll just see how that unfolds. Back out in front, Max Service. He's led the most laps tonight at 56, and he's going to try to lead the last 19 and bring home that checkered flag. Max Service out in the breeze. Dan Park running second. Now just over a second in arrears. And about 4 seconds behind Mr. Park, we find the 88 of Kyle Johnson, current championship points leader. Oh, Brady was just behind him. Robert Richardson, remember, he was also on that alternate strategy with the 7. Is running in 5th, but he's not going to have that spot much longer as the 11 of David Davis is about to work around him. Also keeping our eyes on this battle right here. This is the closest one on the racetrack currently. Everybody else is pretty well spread about. Of course, not a battle for position. We might want to point out too that these are teammates, FD50K teammates running together. So, you know, maybe there's a reason they're playing nice. Well, we've also seen that team be the victim of friendly fire in the past, though. So, I guess you never know. So far, they're playing nice. Significantly better tires on the 11, though. So I'd have to figure that maybe he's just not in a hurry to get by his teammate. That'll do it right there, I believe, coming off the corner. David Davis will snag away a top 5 spot from his teammate in the 5. Well, maybe not yet. Maybe they got a little bit more argument to do over position. Yep, it's sorted itself out now. We'll go back up front where Max Service has he's beginning to leg it out. Still running faster than the 7. We saw him pass roughly just over 10 laps ago, and he hasn't looked in his rearview mirror, and he's left everybody else in the field well behind him. I do want to note, 7's still running in front of the 88 when it comes to this strategy, so I just got to give kudos to the 7 for trying the strategy, and ultimately something that probably had a shot at winning. Remember, you know, Mr. Park was running on the back side of the field most of the race in the beginning, so at least is going to get him up there for a better finish. But you got to give credit where credit's due. That's what the driver, the number 81, has done this evening, and just putting the pedal down and just making it happen, clicking off really fast laps, taking advantage of gaining as much time as possible on pit entry and pit exit. Like I mentioned earlier, one of the best. Just a nice complete race together. I want to give the field a shout out. I know it's not over yet, but nice clean race tonight. I mean, we saw the full trouble the 6 got into, but we stayed green. And executing multiple rounds of green flag pit stops with no pit road penalties. Also very impressive, especially at a track here like Dover. That is just so hard to do. So this time by, we'll click it to 5 laps to go, and Max Service will begin to start thinking about the post-race interview and what he wants to say about the evening. And we'll begin to talk more about points. You know, Sean Woodside's back on the pit lane. I don't know. I don't think this is scheduled because he was back last in not that long ago. He was one of the first drivers when they did the second pit stop strategy, but maybe just struggling on what he had there, and come down and strap up some fresh tires while he had the chance. Then to stop there for the 45. He is just rejoining the track, so that might have been some damage that we didn't see him sustain. He had to come down and get fixed. 2 laps to go here for the driver of the 81, Mr. Max Service. He's had quite a good season to this point. I would consider probably one of the championship favorites, if not the favorite. 3 poles, 2 wins. 8 top 5s, has finished top 10 in every single race so far this season. Also has one of the lowest incident points per lap ratios of any full-time driver in the series. Also racked up the most bonus points over the course of the year in the tune of 45 of them. Coming through 3 and 4 for the final time here tonight on December 9th here at the virtual Dover Motor Speedway. Max Service will win in the penultimate race of the Steel Graphics and Designs fall season. We'll let Max get to celebrating as we wait for the final results to tally themselves up. Then we'll get a chance to talk to our podium. Speaking of the podium, let's take a look at these finishing results. Max Service is burning it down in the background. He was victorious here tonight. Dan Park, Kyle Johnson round out the podium. We'll hear for those drivers in just a few moments. Bo Brady and David Davis will round out your top 5. Robert Richardson, Lane Doyle, Joe Ruggles Jr., Sean Woodside, all stretched all the way to the finish line. And Daniel Bodler will finish in 10th after retiring from some damage he had earlier in this event. And now teammates burning it down in the background here at the Dover Motor Speedway. A celebration for the Park Brothers Racing team, who, man, they've also had a very, very good season. This is their 5th win on the season as a team. So I've really started laying it up and putting it down. And I strongly believe when you're talking about a champion next week, there's a good chance it's a Park Brothers Racing vehicle. And that's for good reason. Well, while we let things populate, get a chance to talk to our race winner. Joining us in the booth now, winner tonight, driver the number 81, Mr. Max Service. Max, good evening. Congratulations on the win. Talk to us about your race tonight. I have a feeling if that becomes the norm, everybody else is in trouble. We talked about it on the broadcast, but last week, I mean, it was a polar opposite of what happened this week. You know, late in the run, you were around the 88 just like you were tonight, and he was able to pull that gap on the end. Tonight it was the opposite. What was the difference? Well, you had us fooled if Dover's not one of your better racetracks, but nevertheless. I mean, you're right in the heat of the points battle here. You know, we'll have that tallied up rather later tonight, and I have an assumption with the bonus points tonight you'll be in the lead going to Homestead next week. What's your game plan going into the championship race? Well, we have that to look forward in 1 week, but before we let you go, who do you have to thank for your efforts here this evening?
JBR, Speed Racing Network, for putting this whole thing together, and yeah, that's about it.
All right, man. Well, congratulations on your win tonight. We'll see you next week at Homestead.
Thank you. See you.
Well, joining us now, one of our favorite interviews every time we get to talk to him, driver the number 7, Mr. Dan Park. Dan, good evening. Man, I thought that strategy was going to work for you. I was kind of pulling for that. What else did you need to maybe make that happen other than just a max service running you down?
20 less laps. No, when Max came out of the pits in front of me, I knew I wasn't gonna hold him off because he was gonna be really fast for a really long time, like I was when I was gaining back up on him.
Yeah, and
But
I thought what was interesting though, you were able to stay in front of the 88, who also came out of the pit lane at the same time as Max, and well, it just proves why Max is who he is. I mean, he's just that much better than everybody sometimes. So, I mean, realistically, I thought there was still a chance it would work. But, hey, overall, second place finish when we're talking about a stretch down to a championship is going to be a good night. Talk to us a little bit about your thoughts as we enter the last race of the season next week.
I have to go out and win. That's basically where I'm at. To win the championship, I would have to win. Max, he's super fast and he's always up front. So to win the championship, you're gonna have to win the race.
I agree with you. Luckily for you, he said he's not very good at Homestead, but then I don't necessarily believe him because he said he's not good at Dover either, and yet here we are. So
No, I don't blame him at all. So he'll be fast.
I mean, you're teammates with him, so we'll leave the believing up to you. I mean, he will be the points leader going in the last week, so I mean, you as a team owner have to be a little bit excited probably about your guys' chances to bring home a championship, though.
Oh, definitely. With having all three of our guys in the chase, or in the championship, it's amazing.
Yeah, and that's have everybody in the hunt is a good step in the right direction. Well,
I also stole his parking spot. I definitely parked my car in victory lane.
Hey, you know what? You do you. You own the team, so I feel like it's only fair you can kind of do whatever you want.
I gave it everything I had to win that race. I just once he caught me, I was like, "There's no point in racing you because I can't hold you off."
That is true.
My best bet was just to let him go.
Well, you can go get him down next week. Probably gonna have to win the race, of course. But you know what? If I know anything about Dan Park, you're gonna give it your best effort. But 45 points tonight is gonna be a nice thing to sleep on before next week. Actually, is gonna put you third in the points headed into the last week. So
tires were 33 on the right front. I knew it was bad.
Well, you got your use out of them. How about that? We'll go with that.
Yeah. 29 on the first set, 33 on the second set.
Well,
murdered them tires.
You got all you could. Well, before we let you go, kind of celebrate with your team and strategize for what's coming next week, who do you have to thank for your efforts here this evening?
Well, I got to thank Michael Steele for Steel Graphics Design for the paints. I dedicate all my races to my grandma and my dad. And right now I'm kind of running for Michael Steele also since he had his medical mishap. But I also got to thank all the people watching. Like, I know my mom's watching. My brother's probably watching, but I'm not 100% sure. And you for putting on the broadcast. And putting on this league that we can race in.
Hey, I do what I can, right?
Facts.
But hey, we'll see you next week at Homestead, and we'll be pulling for you.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Driver the number 7, Dan Park. He's your second place finisher tonight. Also realize that I still mess up at this thing sometimes. You couldn't hear most of that Max Service interview, but we got the end in there, and that's what matters. So we got one more interview we'll knock out. That is the last of our podium place finishers. Third place, Kyle Johnson, joining us now in the booth. Third place finisher tonight. Driver the number 88. Last week's winner, Kyle Johnson. Kyle, good evening. Congrats on your your podium finish. What more did you need there for Max? It seems like he kind of flipped the script on you from what happened last week.
I don't know, man. It's honestly, I think it was a little combination of two things. I think he might have been a tad better than me, and then the strat. I just kind of, I don't know. I was all over the place. I was gonna try to make it in one stop, and then I was like, "There's no way the tires are wearing too fast." And then I short pit. I kind of got backed up to where at the end of their runs, Max always had better tires than me at the end, and really couldn't dig my way out of it. And just took what I could. Wish I could have gotten a little more, but just he caught me with 30 to go, and I was gonna try to fight him, but I was watching the closing rate, and I would have just had to do something completely dirty, and I was like, 35 laps or so. I just, he just had kind of had it. So yeah, I think what I could have done different to kind of contend. The answer is maybe a fresh start with a new race with a different strategy, with a little bit of better saving of tires, and maybe it would have had a shot. But Max, give credit to him. He ran a great race, and I don't even know where the 7 came from. I thought I was in second, so I'm not sure about that. I got to check back to see how his strategy played out, but all in all, I guess top 3. So
Yeah, Mr. Park played the one stop and kind of just stayed true to what he had. And, I was kind of thinking for a while that might not be a bad idea because you lose 2 laps while on a pit cycle. But, I mean, Max is also just really good. So you
yeah,
have to put up with that too.
I thought about the one stop deal, and I tried that a few weeks back. I forget what track it was, and we were like a second and a half. It ended up biting me, so I don't know. I was trying to look at laps. It was borderline, so I don't know. Maybe another 10, we would have caught Daniel, but it is what it is.
Well, we have 1 week left, and we'll have a champion after next week. And well, Max has a 3-point lead on you going into Homestead. What's your thought process? What's your game plan? How do you feel about
Well,
Homestead?
well, I think that I better try to get in. When the hour practice when it pops up, I better try to get in there and get some laps in. Maybe try to get a couple long runs because I usually don't really try that. So like mock that. So maybe I could get in a little early and run like a 30 lapper, kind of see how it feels. That could be my best bet to try to be prepared, I guess. But besides that, just kind of same deal. Just try to keep her alive early when people are getting antsy, and qualify the best I can, kind of, and then I'm obviously gonna give it everything I got. So hoping that my teammates will run me clean, and you know, really kind of hoping Max is kind of not good.
Well, there you go. Well, before we let you go this evening, who do you have to thank for your efforts here this week?
Appreciate everybody, you guys putting on the show, and president, everybody involved in running it, and my teammate Bo and Joe and Sean Woodside, and yeah, man, it'll be. I'm excited about next week. It should come down to it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm ready to be on the call. So we'll see you next week.
Appreciate it, man.
So Kyle Johnson, driver the number 88, our third place finisher here tonight. Well, I mean, that one was easy. That wraps us up. We'll pop your race finishing results up there one more time so you can see your favorite driver finish. We apologize for some of the skipping around tonight. Timing was kind of odd. But it's iRacing Build Week. Lots of updates on the service today. There's always hot fixes that come in after. So we usually don't race on build weeks, but we need to get this season finalized before the holiday break. So we had to race this week and kind of fought through some of the issues. But nevertheless, great race. No cautions the whole race long. 9 out of the 10 drivers finished. We had great strategy, great battles, and we have a pretty tight championship battle down the stretch. Just going to run you through that real quick. Max Service holds the top spot with, we'll basically call it 95 points. Kyle Johnson with 92. Dan Park with 83. Bo Brady with 80. Those are the guys realistically kind of all in that fight. Then David Davis, Lane Doyle, Daniel Bodler, Robert Richard, and Joe Ruggles, Troy Techmeyer round out the top 10 battling. You see there on the screen, Dan Park was not wrong. He did park his vehicle in victory lane, but hey, if you own the team and you guys win the race, I'll give them a pass on that. I've been there. But next week, Homestead Miami Speedway, that's where we finish off Season 8. We'll crown a champion. We'll pay out some money. We'll have a great time. We'll hear from a bunch of drivers post-race, as we typically like to do on the last week. And we'll talk maybe a little bit about future plans and what we might have down the pipe. Nothing currently has been set in stone, but we are going to be off for the holiday break, so through New Year's and probably a majority of January will be quiet here on Speed Racing Network, but we'll see what we can pick back up in the springtime. So on behalf of myself, the president of Speed Racing Network, Jonathan Byer, I thank you for joining us here this evening. Please like, comment, subscribe, spread the news about Speed Racing Network. Recording will be available immediately post-race for you to take clips and maybe some of your favorite moments, and we'll see you next week at Homestead.